After 6 years, the millionaire returned to their old love farm. The child the poor farm girl hid left him frozen. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. Marcus Hale had not seen the old dirt road in 6 long years. His luxury SUV rolled slowly beneath the arching oak trees, branches swaying like they were whispering a warning. The evening sun bled across the sky, turning the fields gold, the same fields where he once held a girl he loved more than his own future. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. 6 years since he walked away from this farm, from her, from everything that felt real. He told himself he came back for closure. He told himself the past could not hurt him anymore. But as the barn came into view, weathered, familiar, heartbreakingly unchanged, his chest tightened. He stepped out of the SUV. The air smelled of hay, dirt, and memories he tried to bury beneath boardrooms, contracts, and million-dollar deals. Marcus Hale, the man the world now called a prodigy CEO, stood on the same soil where he once dreamed of a different life. Then he heard it. A small yelp, high, sharp, frightened. Marcus looked toward the side of the barn. A little boy, no more than 5 or 6 years old, slipped on the wooden step, his tiny hands flailing as he lost balance. Marcus ran without thinking. He caught the boy's arm before the child hit the ground, steadying him with both hands. "Easy there, buddy. I got you," Marcus said, breathless. The boy stared up at him, big hazel eyes, same shade as Marcus's own. For a moment, everything around him vanished, the wind, the barn, even the sound of his own heartbeat. The world narrowed to one impossible face. The child blinked at him, confused but curious. Marcus felt the ground tilt beneath his feet. Something inside him whispered a truth he could not accept. Not yet. Before he could speak, hurried footsteps approached. A woman's voice, familiar, trembling, called out, "Evan, sweetheart, are you all right?" Marcus froze. She stepped out from behind the barn door. Clara. The poor farm girl he once loved with every beat of his heart. Her hair was tied back, strands falling loose the same way they used to. She looked older, softer, stronger. But her eyes, those gentle brown eyes, widened in shock the moment she saw him. "Marcus," she whispered. 6 years collapsed between them in an instant. Marcus opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Because the boy he was still holding, stepped closer to Clara and grabbed her hand. And Marcus saw it again, his own features on the child's face. The shape of the boy's jaw. The way he stood, even the solemn, curious stare Marcus had as a child. Clara swallowed hard. Her fingers trembled as she pulled her son close. Marcus's voice finally broke free, rough and low. "Clara, who is this child?" The wind stilled. Only the child's breathing and Marcus's pounding heart filled the air. Clara looked away as if the earth beneath her was shaking. "Marcus," she whispered. "It is not the right time." But Marcus already knew. And he felt his entire world begin to crack. Marcus did not remember how long he stood there staring at Clara as the boy pressed himself against her leg. The farm was quiet again, but the silence felt heavier than any storm. Clara's eyes refused to meet his, and that hurt more than the truth he was beginning to understand. "Clara," Marcus said slowly, forcing steadiness into his voice. "I deserve to know who he is." Clara drew a breath that trembled on the way out. "Please, Marcus." "Not here. Not in front of him." She glanced at the little boy who watched the two adults with innocent confusion. "Evan, sweetheart, go inside for a moment and wash your hands. Mommy will be right there." The child nodded and ran toward the house, leaving the door half open behind him. Marcus's gaze followed the boy until he disappeared, and something inside him tightened like a rope pulling from both ends. Clara wrapped her arms around herself. "You should not have come back." Marcus shook his head. "Clara, I found your letter. The one you never mailed. It explained nothing. I had to see you. I had to understand." Her expression froze. She looked as though someone had reached into the past and dragged out a secret she thought was safe. That letter was never meant for you, she whispered. Marcus stepped closer, his voice low but steady. You disappeared without a word. One day we were planning where we would live, and the next morning you were gone. 6 years, Clara. I searched for answers that never came. Clara's voice cracked as she replied, I had no choice. Marcus stared at her. There is always a choice. She looked toward the house, toward the doorway where Evan had vanished. Not for me. Not then. A gust of wind carried the scent of hay and rain-wet earth. Marcus remembered this scent too well. It had been the backdrop of their first kiss, their last argument, their final night together. He had tried to forget it, but the farm held memories the way old wood held warmth long after sunset. Clara finally met his eyes. You built a new life, Marcus. You became everything you dreamed of becoming. I saw your name on magazines, on television. You were untouchable. You were happy. Happy. He let out a quiet breath that stirred the dust between them. Clara's success does not erase a missing piece. Her throat tightened. She looked down at her hands, roughened by farm work, a stark contrast to the polished world Marcus lived in. I did not want to ruin your future, she said. The world you stepped into had no space for a girl like me. And certainly not for a child. The truth hit him like a blow. A child. A future he never knew. A life he had been cut out of before it even began. Marcus's voice dropped to a bare whisper. Clara, why did you not tell me? Her eyes shone not with anger but with years of unspoken fear. Because when you left that night, I thought you chose your career over us. And when I found out I was pregnant, I believed telling you would only make things worse. You had dreams, Marcus. I did not want to be the weight that pulled you down. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, overwhelmed. You were never a weight. You were the reason I dreamed it all. His chest tightened as he remembered the laughter, the whispered promises, the nights they spent planning a future that now lay shattered at their feet. Clara turned away, wiping her cheek before a tear could fall. It is too late, Marcus. He stepped forward again. No, it is not. But she shook her head, retreating one small step at a time, as if she feared he might break apart the fragile life she had built to survive. Evan is all I have. Every decision I made was to protect him. Marcus paused, breathing slowly, as the truth settled deeper. He looked back at the house, at the small boots by the door, at the faint laughter drifting from inside. Clara, he said softly, I do not want to take anything away from you. Or from him. But I cannot walk away this time. Not when I have just found out I have a son. Her breath caught and her resolve wavered like a flame in the wind. Please, Marcus added, voice warmer, now let me be part of his life. Let me start with the truth. Clara closed her eyes. For a moment Marcus thought she would refuse, but then she whispered, barely audible, Come inside, Marcus. There is more you need to know. And just like that, the door to 6 lost years cracked open. Clara pushed the door open and walked inside first, almost as if she needed a moment to gather her courage. Marcus followed slowly, letting the screen door close behind him. The small farmhouse looked exactly as he remembered, and completely different at the same time. The kitchen was warm, lit by the soft glow of an old lamp, and a pot of stew simmered on the stove. It was the same smell that used to cling to Clara's hair after long evenings cooking together. Evan sat at the table, swinging his legs, drawing shapes on a sheet of paper. When he looked up and saw Marcus enter, he smiled with that same soft curiosity, a smile that stabbed Marcus straight in the heart. Clara cleared her throat. Evan, sweetheart, this is an old friend of mine. His name is Marcus. The boy nodded politely. Hello, Mr. Marcus. Marcus's voice felt caught in his throat. Hello, Evan. Clara guided Evan to the living room and handed him a small bin of wooden blocks. Build something for me, all right? Mommy needs to talk. When she returned to the kitchen, Marcus was standing near the counter, staring at a faded photograph pinned to the fridge. It was Clara holding a newborn wrapped in a blue blanket. The photo was worn at the edges like it had been touched many times. Marcus swallowed hard. So he was born here? Clara nodded. Right here on this farm. My father helped me through the delivery. He passed away a few months later. Marcus turned to her, grief flickering across his features. Clara, you went through everything alone. She shook her head. I was not alone. I had my father. I had this land. What I did not have was the strength to pull you back into a life you were running toward with everything you had. Marcus's voice broke. I was running because I thought you did not want me anymore. Her breath caught. I never said that. You never gave me the chance to hear it, Marcus replied quietly. Clara sank into a chair, pressing her palms onto the worn wood as if she needed to steady herself. Marcus, you were offered a position that could change everything for you. When you left that night to meet with your investors, I heard you tell someone on the phone that love was a distraction you could not afford. I thought you meant me. Marcus's eyes widened. Clara, I did not mean that about you. I meant that the company was drowning. Investors were walking away. I was terrified. I did not want my fear to spill onto you. Clara looked away, her voice trembling. But it did. And I thought leaving was the only way to protect both you and the child. Marcus sank into the chair across from her, stunned by how deeply a single misunderstanding had carved a canyon between them. If I knew you were pregnant, Clara, nothing in this world would have kept me away. Her eyes glistened, but she held her composure. That is why I stayed silent. I wanted you to rise without feeling tied down. But I was tied down, Marcus said softly. Not by you, by my own mistakes. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was Evan humming softly as he built a tower of blocks in the next room. Marcus rubbed his hands together slowly. Clara, I cannot change the past. But I can change what happens next. I want to be in his life. Clara's jaw tightened. Marcus being in his life is not something you can say once and disappear again. He is a child. He will get attached. Marcus nodded firmly. I am not going anywhere. Not this time. I want to know him. I want him to know me. And I want to rebuild whatever is left between us, even if it takes months or years. Clara leaned back, exhausted by the weight of the truth finally spoken aloud. You say that now, Marcus. But when the city calls you back, when the company demands your time, will you still be able to stand here in this kitchen and look at him with the same promise? Marcus looked toward the living room doorway where Evan played. His voice softened. Yes. Because for the first time in 6 years, I understand what I lost. And I will not lose him again. Clara inhaled, shakily torn between fear and hope. Then start slow, she whispered. Start by being present. Start by letting him know who you are in a way that does not shake the world he knows. Marcus nodded. Tell me how. Clara hesitated, then said, help him with his projects. Talk to him. Read to him. Let him lead. He does not need a millionaire. He needs a steady hand. Marcus nodded again, more certain this time. Then a steady hand is exactly what I will be. Clara exhaled a breath she seemed to have held for 6 years. For the first time that evening, her eyes softened. Then we will see where this leads, Marcus, she said quietly. And in the living room, as if sensing hope take root, Evan called out, Mommy, look, I made a bridge. Clara managed a small smile. Yes, she whispered. Maybe you did. Marcus followed Clara into the living room, unsure of what to expect next. Evan sat on the floor, surrounded by wooden blocks shaped into a bridge that arched across the rug. The boy looked up with a spark in his eyes, proud of what he had built. Look, Mommy, Evan said, lifting one end of the bridge carefully. It holds the cars. They do not fall. Clara smiled and knelt beside him, her hand brushing the boy's shoulder. It is wonderful, Evan. You worked very hard. She stepped back slightly, giving Marcus a small nod, a quiet signal, an opening. Marcus lowered himself to the floor, feeling strangely nervous. Did you build this all by yourself, he asked. Evan nodded with serious pride. Yes. I like bridges. Grandpa said bridges help people cross from one place to another. Marcus felt something in his chest shift. That is true, he said softly. Bridges connect. The boy tilted his head. Do you like building things too, Mr. Marcus? Marcus hesitated. He had built skyscrapers, companies, entire empires. But none of it felt as fragile or meaningful as this moment. I like building things that matter, he answered. May I help you strengthen this one? Evan's eyes lit up. Yes, but you have to be careful. The middle part falls if you push too hard. I will be careful, Marcus said. You can show me how. The boy shuffled closer to him, small fingers guiding Marcus's much larger hands. Clara watched from the kitchen doorway, her expression softening as the two of them bent over the tiny wooden structure. For the first time since Marcus arrived, the tension in the room eased, replaced by a quiet warmth. Evan adjusted a block and looked at Marcus with expectation. "Can you hold this side while I put the top on?" Marcus nodded. "Of course." Together they lifted the final piece into place. The bridge stood steady, balanced, complete. Evan clapped his hands. "It worked, Mr. Marcus, it worked." Marcus smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "You did the hard part. I only followed your instructions." Evan shook his head. "No. You helped. Grandpa used to help too." Marcus felt his heartbeat stumble. "I would like to help again if you want me to." Evan shrugged in a simple, honest way only a child could offer. "You can come back tomorrow." The words hit Marcus harder than any accusation Clara had ever made. A door opening. An invitation. A chance he did not deserve but longed for. Clara stepped forward, clearing her throat gently. "It is getting late, Evan. Put your blocks away and wash up." "All right, yes, Mommy," the boy said, gathering his toys. When he disappeared down the hallway, Marcus rose to his feet. Clara stood several steps away, arms folded loosely as if trying to decide whether to guard herself or allow hope to settle. "You did well with him," she said quietly. Marcus exhaled. "He did well with me. Clara. He is incredible." "He is strong," she answered. "He had to be." Marcus looked toward the hallway. "I mean it, Clara. I want to be here. Whatever it takes." She studied him carefully. Being here is not about promises spoken in a moment of emotion. It is about showing up again tomorrow. And the day after that. And every ordinary day when nothing dramatic is happening. "I understand," Marcus said. "I can do that." She did not smile, but her shoulders relaxed slightly. "Then, we will take it one step at a time." He nodded. "One step at a time." Evan reappeared at the hallway entrance, wearing a clean shirt and holding a small drawing in his hand. He walked straight to Marcus and lifted the paper up with both hands. "I made this for you," Evan said. "It is my bridge, so you will not forget it." Marcus accepted the drawing carefully as though it were something fragile and priceless. "Thank you, Evan. I will keep it safe." The boy grinned before running back to the kitchen. Clara watched silently as Marcus stared at the drawing, tracing the lines as if trying to memorize every detail. It was only a child's sketch, but to Marcus it felt like the first real connection to a son he never knew existed. The next morning arrived earlier than Marcus expected. He barely slept, replaying every moment inside the small farmhouse. The drawing Evan had given him rested on the nightstand of his hotel room, and Marcus found himself reaching for it the moment he woke. There was something grounding about the uneven lines, something steadying about the simple way a child saw the world. He arrived at the farm just after sunrise. The air was cool, carrying the scent of grass and fresh soil. Clara was outside, feeding the chickens, her hair tied back, her boots covered in dust. She looked surprised to see him arrive so early. "You came back," she said. "You told me to start by showing up," Marcus replied. "So I did." Clara studied him for a moment, trying to read whether this was excitement, guilt, or genuine determination. Before she could answer, Evan burst out of the house, holding a small metal bucket. "Mommy, the water is heavy," Evan cried, struggling to lift it. Marcus moved instinctively. "Let me help you." Evan looked at him with relief and handed over the bucket. Marcus sensed how small the boy's hands were, how the weight must have felt overwhelming. "It is all right," Marcus said gently. "Everyone needs help sometimes." Clara watched the exchange carefully. She was not smiling, but there was a softness beginning to form around her expression. Evan tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Do you want to see my favorite place on the farm?" Marcus nodded. "Lead the way." Evan took off toward the back field. Marcus followed, walking past grazing horses and rows of weathered fencing. Clara trailed behind them, silent but attentive. The boy stopped at a large oak tree with a tire swing hanging from one of its branches. "Grandpa made this for me," Evan said, "but I cannot swing high anymore. It gets stuck." Marcus examined the rope. It was frayed and tangled around the branch. "I can fix it," he said. Evan's eyes widened. "Really, I will try," Marcus answered. He climbed up onto a low branch, working his way carefully while Evan watched with admiration. Marcus untangled the rope, tightened the knot, and lowered the swing back into place. When he stepped down, he tested it with a gentle pull. "Try it now," Marcus said. Evan climbed onto the swing and pushed off the ground. The tire lifted smoothly. The boy laughed, a clear, bright sound that caught Marcus off guard. "You fixed it," Evan shouted. Marcus felt something warm fill his chest. "I am glad it works." Clara stepped forward, brushing dust from her jeans. "Thank you." "He has been upset about that swing for weeks." Marcus shook his head. "I did not do much. I just gave it a little help." Clara hesitated before speaking. "Sometimes a little help is everything." Evan continued swinging, while Marcus and Clara stood beneath the oak tree. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating shifting patterns across the ground. The moment felt fragile, like something that needed to be protected. Clara finally said, "He likes you. That does not happen easily." Marcus looked toward the boy. "He is remarkable, and I want to be someone he can rely on." Clara's expression tightened slightly, not with anger, but with fear. "Reliability takes time, Marcus. It does not come from grand gestures. It comes from being here on the days when nothing special is happening." Marcus nodded. "Then I will be here on those days too." Before Clara could respond, Evan called out, "Mr. Marcus, look at me." The swing lifted higher as the boy pumped his legs with excitement. Clara instinctively stepped forward, worry flickering across her face. But Marcus touched her arm gently. "He is all right. I am here." Clara looked at Marcus, truly looked at him, as if seeing him, not as the man who left 6 years ago, but the man who had returned, now willing to repair things one rope at a time. Evan laughed again, the kind of laughter that made the whole farm seem brighter. And for the first time, Clara let herself wonder if Marcus could really be part of their lives, not as a visitor passing through, but as something steady, something real. The day wore on with a comfortable quietness. Marcus remained on the farm longer than he planned, helping Clara with small tasks while Evan played nearby. Each moment felt like a thread being woven into something more stable, something almost like a beginning. But beginnings rarely come without tests. It started when Evan tripped over a loose patch of soil near the horse pen. He fell forward with a sharp cry, scraping his knee. The sound of his pain cut through the air like a blade. Clara rushed immediately, but Marcus reached the boy at the same time. Evan's face crumpled with tears. "It hurts, Mommy. It hurts." Clara knelt down. "Let me see, sweetheart." Marcus crouched beside them, heart pounding harder than it should have. The scrape was small, but the fear in Evan's eyes felt enormous. Clara whispered to him gently, "It will be all right. Just a small scrape." Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean handkerchief. "May I help?" he asked. Clara hesitated. Evan looked at Marcus through watery eyes. "Does it hurt a lot?" Marcus asked him softly. Evan nodded. Marcus held out the handkerchief. "May I clean it? I promise I will be gentle." Evan sniffed and whispered, "Okay." Marcus cleaned the scrape slowly, making sure not to press too hard. Evan winced, but he did not pull away. Clara watched carefully, her breath held in the space between them. "There," Marcus said when he finished. "The pain will fade soon. You were very brave." Evan wiped his face. "Mommy says brave people tell the truth even when it is scary." Marcus's chest tightened. "Your mother is right." Clara looked away, the truth of their unresolved past hanging in the air as heavy as the afternoon heat. After the scrape was cleaned, Evan ran off again, limping only slightly. Marcus stood and brushed dirt from his knees. Clara remained silent for a moment before she finally spoke. "You handled that well," she said. "I only did what any father would do," Marcus replied. Clara stiffened. "You cannot say that so easily. You missed 6 years." "I know," Marcus said. "But I am here now." "That is not enough," Clara whispered. Marcus followed her as she walked toward the barn. "Then tell me what is enough. Tell me what I must do." Clara stopped near the open barn door. Shadows stretched across the floorboards as the sun dipped lower in the sky. "You think this is simple," she said. "You think showing up for a day makes you part of our lives. But Evan has routines, safety, stability. I have spent 6 years building a world that does not fall apart. I am not here to break anything," Marcus said quietly. Clara turned to face him. "But you could." "Without intending to." Evan becomes attached quickly. If you leave again, even for your career, even for a few months, he will feel it. Children do not understand absence the way adults do. Marcus inhaled deeply. "I understand, and I accept that responsibility." Clara searched his face. You say that now, but your life is in the city. Your company demands everything. You live in a world where time is money and commitment is measured in contracts. Marcus shook his head. That is the world I built because I believed I had nothing here. But I was wrong. Clara softened, but only slightly. Words are not the test, Marcus. Time is. Marcus looked toward the field where Evan played with a small stick, drawing shapes in the dirt. Then I will give you time. As much as it takes. Clara crossed her arms, guarding herself. Evan asked if you would be here tomorrow. I will be, Marcus said without hesitation. And the next day, yes. And next week, yes, Marcus repeated, even though he knew his assistant was expecting him back in the city by Monday, even though a major investor presentation was coming up. None of that mattered right now. Clara studied him, looking for cracks, for signs of hesitation. There were none. Finally, she said, then tomorrow, come early. There is more work than you saw today. Marcus nodded. I will be here. A faint expression crossed Clara's face. Something between caution and hope. Evan ran toward them again, holding a small stone shaped like a heart. Mr. Marcus, look what I found. Marcus accepted the stone, unable to speak for a moment. Clara watched the exchange silently, and for the first time, she did not look afraid of what Marcus's presence might mean. Instead, she looked afraid of what it meant that she wanted him to stay. The next morning arrived with a quiet mist covering the fields. Marcus drove to the farm earlier than he promised, feeling a renewed sense of purpose settle into him like steady ground beneath uncertain feet. He parked near the barn and stepped out just as Clara opened the front door. She looked surprised again, though she tried to hide it. You are early. I said I would be, Marcus replied simply. Evan ran past her barefoot on the wooden porch, carrying a toy truck. Mr. Marcus, look, the truck can go in the mud. He sprinted toward the puddle, and Marcus followed with a smile. But before he reached the boy, his phone vibrated sharply in his pocket. Marcus hesitated, thumb resting against the buzzing device. This was the first real test of the promise he had made. Clara watched him, waiting to see what he would choose. Marcus silenced the call without looking at the screen and slipped the phone back into his pocket. Evan laughed as he pushed the truck through the mud, splashing water onto his small legs. Marcus crouched down beside him. That looks like a strong truck. It is, Evan said proudly. It does not get stuck. Marcus nodded, slowly absorbing the symbolic weight of those words. That is a good thing. Clara approached, carrying a small bucket of feed for the animals. If you really want to help today, the fence line on the south side needs reinforcement. The last storm weakened it. I will take care of it, Marcus said. Are you sure? Clara asked. It is heavy work. I can handle it, Marcus answered. But before he could take the tools she offered him, the phone buzzed again. This time louder. Longer. Persistent. Clara's eyes narrowed. You should answer that. It sounds important. Marcus shook his head. It can wait. Clara crossed her arms. Marcus, you cannot pretend the city does not exist. I am not pretending, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice even. I am choosing. Clara stared at him for a long moment as if weighing his sincerity, but before she could speak, the phone buzzed a third time. Something in the intensity of it felt urgent enough that even Marcus felt the pull. Go on, Clara said quietly. Take the call. Marcus exhaled heavily and finally answered the phone. This is Marcus. A sharp, anxious voice came through the speaker. Marcus, thank goodness you picked up. The investors have moved up the meeting. They want the full presentation tomorrow morning. They said if you are not here in person, the deal may fall apart. Marcus closed his eyes. Tomorrow, yes, the assistant replied. They insisted. They believe your absence signals instability. Marcus glanced toward Clara. She stood motionless, the bucket of feed in her hands, waiting for the truth she feared. He looked at Evan, still playing in the mud, humming softly to himself, completely unaware of how fragile the moment was. Marcus turned away from them, pressing the phone closer to his ear. I cannot leave today. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Marcus, this deal is the largest project of the year. If it collapses, the board will question every move you have made since last quarter. Marcus's jaw tightened. The weight of his entire empire felt like a pressure on his ribs. But he said firmly, I am not leaving. Marcus, the assistant tried again, you do not understand. This could cost you millions. Marcus looked over his shoulder toward Evan, who was now holding out his muddy truck proudly as if offering Marcus a gift. He answered with a calmness he did not expect to find. "Some things are worth more than money. I will call you later." He ended the call. When he turned back, Clara was staring at him with disbelief. "You just turned down the biggest deal of your career," Marcus nodded. "Yes." "Why?" she asked softly. "Because you told me time is the test," Marcus replied. "And right now I am choosing to pass it." Clara looked shaken, unsure whether to trust what she heard. "You cannot just give up your life for one moment." "I am not giving up my life," Marcus said. "I am choosing who I want to be in it." Evan tugged at Marcus's pant leg. "Mr. Marcus, can you help me build a road for my truck?" Marcus looked down at the boy, at the innocence in his eyes, and felt the decision settle firmly in his heart. "Yes," Marcus said. "I can help you." Clara watched them walk toward the backfield together, her pulse beating with a mixture of fear, hope, and something she thought she had buried years ago. Marcus had made his first real sacrifice, and now the consequences of that choice were only beginning. The afternoon sunlight stretched across the fields as Marcus helped Evan build a small dirt road for the toy truck. The boy laughed each time the truck bounced over a pebble, and Marcus felt something he had not felt in years, a sense of belonging that did not rely on success or wealth. But Clara watched from a distance, her arms folded tightly. She could not ignore the truth. Marcus had chosen to stay, and that choice would bring consequences no one on the farm could outrun. By the time the sun dipped lower, Clara approached them. "Evan, sweetheart, go wash your hands. Dinner will be ready soon." Evan nodded and ran toward the house, humming as he went. Clara waited until he disappeared inside before speaking. "Marcus, you put yourself in a dangerous position today." Marcus stood and brushed dirt from his hands. "I made the decision I believed was right." "I know," Clara said, "but your assistant said the deal might collapse. If that happens, your board will not take it lightly." Marcus shook his head. "I can rebuild a deal. I cannot rebuild 6 years with my son." Clara sighed, the sound heavy with conflicting emotions. "You cannot keep sacrificing everything for us. That type of pressure will catch up to you." "It is not a sacrifice," Marcus replied. "It is a correction." Clara looked at him sharply. "Correction or not, it comes with consequences." Marcus walked beside her, toward the barn. "I am willing to face them." Clara paused at the barn entrance. "I am not worried about you, Marcus. I am worried about Evan. If your world falls apart because you stayed here, he will blame himself." Marcus felt the words hit deeper than anything she had said before. "I will never let him feel that." "You might not have a choice," Clara whispered. "Children carry guilt, even when no one gives it to them." Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed again. This time the vibration felt heavier, like a warning he could not ignore. He looked at the screen. It was the chairman of his board. Clara watched him closely. "You should answer." Marcus hesitated. "I do not want to bring that world here." "That world is part of you," Clara said. "You cannot shut it out." Marcus stepped away and accepted the call. "This is Marcus." The chairman's voice was stern. "I heard you reacted poorly to the investor request. They are questioning your commitment. We have directors calling for an emergency meeting." Marcus felt a muscle tighten in his jaw. "I will address it." "You had better," the chairman said. "Your absence is being interpreted as instability. They are demanding an explanation." Marcus looked toward Clara again. She stood motionless, her eyes fixed on him, waiting to hear how far he would bend. "I will come in tomorrow afternoon," he said. The chairman hesitated. "Tomorrow afternoon is not ideal." "It is the best I can do," Marcus replied. The chairman sighed sharply. "Very well. But Marcus, this is your only chance to steady the board." Marcus ended the call and returned to Clara, who searched his expression for signs of retreat. "Well?" she asked. "I need to go to the city tomorrow," Marcus said quietly. "Only for the afternoon." Clara looked at him with a mixture of relief and disappointment. "You have responsibilities, Marcus. I never expected you to abandon them." "I am not abandoning anything," Marcus insisted. "I just need to address the consequences of staying here." Clara exhaled slowly. "Evan will ask for you in the morning." "I will be here in the morning," Marcus said. "I will leave after lunch and come back before dinner." Clara's eyes softened at the certainty in his voice. You really believe you can balance both worlds? I will learn to, Marcus answered. Because I am not walking away from him. Or from you. Clara looked toward the house where the lights in the kitchen flickered on. Evan is getting attached. I am too, Marcus said. After a moment she said quietly, then do not make promises you cannot keep. He has already lost enough. Marcus followed her, feeling the weight of her words settle into the deepest part of him. Tomorrow would test everything he had declared, and this time failure was not an option he could afford. Marcus arrived the next morning before the sun had fully risen. The farm was quiet, wrapped in a pale blue calm that made every sound feel sharper. Evan spotted him from the porch and sprinted toward him with open arms. You came back, the boy shouted. Marcus lifted him gently. I told you I would. Clara stepped outside, tying her apron. She studied Marcus as though trying to decide whether to trust what she saw. You did not have to come this early, she said. Yes, Marcus replied, I did. They spent the morning mending the south fence. Evan trotted between them, delivering tools with a seriousness that made both adults smile, despite the tension lingering beneath the surface. But midday arrived too quickly. Clara glanced at the sun, then at Marcus. You should go soon. You said the meeting was in the afternoon. I will leave in a few minutes, Marcus said. Evan's face fell. You are leaving? Marcus knelt to the boy's level. Only for a few hours. I will be back by dinner. Promise? Evan asked. Yes, Marcus replied. Clara watched silently as Evan hugged Marcus tightly before running back inside. When the boy was gone, Marcus turned to her. He trusts you, she said quietly. He does not trust easily. I know, Marcus replied. That is why I will not break this promise. He drove to the city with a determination he had never felt in any boardroom. When he arrived at the meeting, the directors stiffened, ready to lecture him, ready to question him, ready to push him back under the weight of the world he had built. Marcus stood at the head of the table. I will give you everything you need for this deal, he said, but I will not sacrifice my personal life to keep this company running. I have commitments outside of this room. They matter to me. A stunned silence followed. One director asked, Are you saying your priorities have changed, Marcus? Yes, Marcus answered. My priorities have changed. The meeting continued with resistance, questions, and pressure, but Marcus held firm, and when he walked out 2 hours later, he felt lighter than he had in years. He drove straight back to the farm. The sun was already sinking when he arrived. Evan stood at the edge of the yard, eyes scanning the road anxiously. When he saw Marcus's SUV, he ran forward, shouting with unrestrained joy. You came back. You said you would, and you did. Marcus scooped him up. I told you I keep my promises. Clara stepped out of the barn, her expression unreadable. Marcus walked toward her, carrying the boy on his hip. When he reached her, Evan wiggled free and ran inside to set the table for dinner. Marcus and Clara were left standing together in the soft golden light. How did the meeting go? She asked. I told them the truth, Marcus said. I told them I am choosing a different life now. Clara looked down, then slowly met his eyes. And what does that mean for you? It means, Marcus said, I want to build something real, not in the city, not in the world that took me away from here. I want to build something with him, and with you if you will let me. Clara's breath caught. Marcus, I have spent years afraid of hoping for this. So have I, he admitted. She hesitated. What if you change your mind? Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the small drawing Evan had given him on the first night. The bridge, the uneven lines, the tiny arches. This reminds me of why I am here. Bridges connect people. I am done living on the other side. Clara's eyes softened, filled with the weight of years lost and the fragile possibility of years regained. Marcus, she whispered, I do not want grand promises. I want presence. Then presence is what I offer, Marcus said. Every day. At that moment, Evan opened the door and waved excitedly. Dinner is ready. Marcus and Clara exchanged a look that carried more than words could hold. Clara nodded gently. Then come inside, Marcus. It is time to start again. They walked toward the warm glow of the farmhouse, where a little boy waited, where a future once abandoned, now waited quietly to be rebuilt. And as the door closed behind them, the last 6 years finally found their way home.